Hey everyone, it's Chenzo87 coming at you with another video in my series of Pokemon Go PvP Basics 101. Now in our first video, we looked at which Pokemon types were super effective and which ones did super effective damage against other Pokemon types. And in this video, we'll actually be looking at resistance. Now in the first video, we mentioned that there are 3 types of damage that you can deal in Pokemon Go PvP. And that was super effective damage, which we covered in the last video, not very effective damage, which we will be covering in this video, and neutral damage. Now, thinking back on that first video and knowing which Pokemon types are super effective against others. For example, water was super effective against fire. When you think about resistance, it's not always as straightforward as because water beats fire, fire is resistant to water. It's not always that simple. So we're going to look at the Pokemon types, all 18. We're going to look at their resistance, and we're going to see a couple of examples of when using resistance is effective. So the first one we're going to look at, and in no particular order except for alphabetical, we're looking at bug types. Now, bug type Pokemon are resistant, which means when a fighting type, a grass type, and a ground type attack a bug type Pokemon, it's going to deal not very effective damage. So it's going to do reduced damage, which means it's resistant. And that's the sort of terminology that we're going to use moving forward. So bugs are resisted. They do not very effective damage. Fighting, grass, and ground. Moving on to dark. Dark are resisted by other dark Pokemon, by ghost, and by psychic. So that means when a ghost type throws an attack against a dark type, it's not going to do a lot of damage. Moving on to dragon, and dragons are resisted by only 4 types. And the easiest way to remember this is that they're resisted by every starter Pokemon. Starter Pokemon in every generation are fire, water, and grass. And dragon resists them. But dragon also resists electric. And that goes back to the original Pokemon Yellow, where Pikachu, being an electric type, was your starter Pokemon. So that's how I remember it. It might help you remember it. Dragons are resisted by the 3 starter Pokemon, as well as electric. Moving on to electric, and it is resisted by other electric Pokemon, it is resisted by flying, and it is resisted by steel. So any of those Pokemon types aren't going to deal a lot of damage to electric. Moving on to fairy, and it is resisted by bug, by fighting, by dragon, and by dark Pokemon. So any 4 of those types aren't going to do a lot of damage to a fairy type Pokemon. Fighting types are resisted by dark, bug, and rock. Moving on to fire, and fire actually has quite a number of resisted types. The first one is bug, then fairy, steel, also resists other fire types, resists ice, and it resists grass. So it's quite handy having a fire type Pokemon because it resists 6 types. Now, flying types resist fighting. They resist grass, and they resist bug, and of course, ground type Pokemon. Moving on to ghost. Now, ghost are resisted by bug, poison, normal, and fighting. So if you throw any of those moves, any of those types against the ghost type, and you wonder why it didn't do a lot of damage, it's because it's resisted. Grass type is resisted by other grass. It's also resisted by electric, water, and ground. Speaking of ground, it is resisted by poison, rock, and electric. So a poison type, a rock type, and an electric type aren't going to deal a lot of damage from those Pokemon types. Ice. This is very easy to remember. It's only resisted by other ice. Simple. 1 resistance, and it's itself. Normal types also have one resistance, and it's Ghost. So Ghost type Pokemon throwing a Ghost type move against a normal type is not going to deal a lot of damage. Moving on to Poison, and Poison resists other poison. It also is resisted by Grass, Fairy, Fighting, and Bug type Pokemon. Psychic are resisted by other Psychic and are resisted by Fighting type Pokemon. Now Rock types. Rock types are resisted by Fire, Normal, Poison, and Flying. And this next one is my personal favorite. It is Steel type, and wow, it resists so much. It resists other Steel. It resists Poison. It resists Fairy. It resists Flying, Rock, Bug, Grass, Normal, Dragon, Psychic, and Ice. That is 11 Pokemon types that Steel resists. Amazing. It is the most by any Pokemon type. Any of those moves are not going to do a lot of damage to a Steel type Pokemon. Crazy. And finally, out of the 18 types, we have Water. Water resisted by other water, resisted by ice, resisted by fire, and resisted by steel. So water can take on other waters, it can take on fire, definitely, ice, and steel type Pokemon. So they're all the resistance. Last video we looked at which Pokemon types are super effective against other types. But what happens when a Pokemon has two types? Good question. If Pokemon has two types, well then the damage done is based on those types. For example, if we look at a Pokemon named Sableye, Sableye is both a Ghost and a Dark type Pokemon. Now if you remember your super effective damage and your resisted damage, and you think about it, what is super effective against Sableye? Well, it's not Ghost, because Dark type resists Ghosts. And even though Ghosts are super effective against other Ghosts, because it has that Dark type, it's going to resist it. So Ghosts aren't effective. Bugs? Ghost resists Bug. There's only one super effective type against Sableye, and it is Fairy. Ghosts do not resist Fairy. And and Fairies are super effective against Dark. So that's why Sableye has one weakness, and it is Fairy. But what happens when a Pokemon has two weaknesses? So we've got Talonflame, my personal favorite, my Talonbay. Love it, absolutely love it. But it is a fire flying type. Now, if I recall my weaknesses, Talonflame, being a fire type, is weak to rock. But also being a flying type, it's weak to rock as well. So that means that Talonflame is double weak to rock. Which means if I'm going to throw a rock type onto Talonflame, a rock type move, it is going to do so much damage. It probably will knock it out because it is double weak. Both of Talonflame's weak types are weak to rock. So it's going to hurt it. It is going to hurt it very, very, very much. Finally, we're going to look at a type that has one of the types weak to a move, but the other one's not. So, Ferrothorn, Grass, Steel. Grass is weak to ice. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to throw an ice type move, but Steel resists ice. So if we throw an ice type move onto Ferrothorn, it is going to do what we call neutral damage. Even though its first type of Grass is weak to ice, its second type actually resists ice. So it's going to do neutral damage. So all we've got time for resistances. I hope you've learned something about dual typing, about resistances. The next video, we'll start tackling some deeper and a little bit more advanced basics of Pokemon Go PvP. I really hope you've enjoyed that. I really hope you've learned something. If you haven't checked out the video about super effective moves, you can check it out on my channel. But also, if you want to explore something about Pokemon Go PvP, if there's something that you really want to know a little bit more about, you can leave a comment and I'll see if I can address it in a video for you. But until then, stay safe, good Pogo to you. I'm Chenzo87.